Watauga Arts Council with your host, Cherry Johnson, serving arts in Watauga County for more than 30 years.
Hi, I'm Cherry Johnson, Watauga County Arts Council. I think you probably have noticed that I like my job a lot. One of the reasons I do is because I get to live in this creative, wonderful world of color and images and paintings and all kinds of creations. And I also get to interact and get to know more about the people that create them. And that's a lot of fun for me. Look around you, around me, and you will see that we have some of the most colorful images, bold images with us. And this is a whole new direction for the lady sitting beside me. This is Marion Cloaninger. Marion is a painter and collage artist and a lot of other things who has been with the Arts Council for some years. And the reason I say a lot of other things is because you are not restricted to a brush or glue.
Oh.
Would that be true?
That is true.
Marion and I have been talking this morning about how that she uses so many different things in her images, and also about her new change in direction in her artwork. When you first started doing things, you said you used to do more of a decorating style, stenciling and that kind of work initially.
Right.
And then it kind of grew how? How did this move to this level?
Well, I just got so interested in doing that I thought, I wonder if I can do something else. So I went and got some how-to art books and got started, and basically just tried different techniques, practice, and just taught myself.
Isn't that amazing? Self-taught. Not every artist can say that. And with such great results. You know, there was hidden in you, I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot exactly, but about how old were you when you started really doing art, really getting into it?
That's probably just early 40s.
Okay. So you'd spent a good portion of your life not really doing this.
No, I am also a nurse, and that has been my life profession. But now I divide my time between those two career paths, really. Which
in a lot of ways are somewhat similar, but in more ways they're probably really different.
They're very different. I am a very detail-oriented person, and that is very something I use in my job as a nurse.
You would have to.
Yes, very much so. And with my artwork, I try to get away from that. Not to be so concerned about details.
Right.
Try to keep it fresh and colorful and full of patterns and just interests for someone who might be looking at it.
And this latest level that you've moved to is even more that way than anything I've ever seen you do before. So the work I've seen Marion do in the past has been impressionistic, I would call it, in that it wasn't realistic as in it looked like she had painted something and it looked like a photograph, nor was it just blobs of color. You know, she had images that you would recognize and so forth, and we still recognize images in a lot of your work. I mean, it's not gone beyond that.
That's right.
You know, but what you have done is your colors are much bolder than I remember them being before. Your shapes and designs are more crisp, more defined. So to me, it's kind of a mix between the detail and the not detail, you know, because you've got, for example, this image of the woman behind us has no face.
Well, that's right. I decided I would not do any more facial characteristics and just use color, and sometimes I throw some patterns in with that as well.
Right.
So that anyone who's viewing the artwork can imagine that to be any person at all.
And then now we will get this up closer and look at it in a few moments, but the idea that this woman is wearing a pattern top.
Right.
And the pattern top, it's not a single color like everything else pretty much is in that painting.
That's right.
And you've done a whole different technique that I gather, just sort of invented on your own, you know.
Well, I just played in the studio and came to find that you could make imprints of just about anything using just simple things that you would have at the house, like bubble wrap, newspaper, crumpled up other kinds of papers. A lot of times you can get texture from just using any kind of packing material. You just have to play with it, see what you get. And also I purchased some little printing kind of plates, which you see in this, the top is basically that. So I can make designs without sitting there with a little paintbrush and trying to get all that detail out.
Now, using this woman as an example again, too. Now, do you use an image to start with, or do you just kind of do it?
I do use images to start with, and I can get images from anywhere. I have books with people in different poses.
Right.
Also, if I'm looking through a fashion magazine and I see a particular pose that interests me, I can use it as a jumping off.
Exactly.
And
I
go
think that's
from
obviously
there.
what you're doing. You're taking something that's maybe even a photograph or something, and you're using it as the inspiration.
That's correct. I don't copy it exactly, but use it as a start and see where it takes me.
Now, the color choices, are they just, I mean, do you know when you start that it's going to be green and aqua and yellow and blue, or do you think?
No, don't really plan that out ahead of time. I usually start with my drawing. I love to draw. And then as I look at the work and begin, I'll think about different possibilities of color.
Right.
And that's the nice thing about acrylic. If I don't like a color I put down, I will simply put another color on top until I find what I do like.
Oops, that's a do-over.
Yes. And then I can kind of go from there. I try to make the colors be in harmony. Use a lot of complements in my paintings.
And I'm seeing more and more boldness in your color choices.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I like bright colors. There's not going to be any little wishy-washy.
Soft pastels are not your thing, huh?
No.
And she's also not afraid of size, obviously. But then speaking of size, you go from one extreme to another.
Like all different sizes.
Like these are very, very small. What is this, about a 6 by 8 or something like that? And this is actually not a painting. Well, it is a painting. It's not a painting.
The background is painted, but then the flowers and the vase are actually collage, but they also have paintwork on them. And so I just love to do little collages as well.
So it's almost like you're playing with the image that some photographer took a picture of some flowers here.
That would be me.
Yeah. And then you took that real image, and then you're kind of turning it beyond real and making it somewhat fantasy, you know, and into another world. Now, do you dream in these kind of colors, Marion?
Sometimes I do dream in colors.
Do you really?
Yes. And, yes, and sometimes I will actually dream up a solution to a problem I have
in one of your paintings or something?
Yes.
Really?
And I'll get up the next day and I'll know what to do.
That is bizarre. That's great. I think that's really cool. That's one thing I love about your work, and it's got a very, I don't know, a very modern kind of a crispness to it. You know, it's you know, not old-timey, baroque, traditional, or anything of that sort. You know, you're very, very strong, intense, modern, what we used to call mod.
Yes,
you know?
yeah.
And so a lot of that image type thing. Now this one is purely a painting, correct?
That one is.
Okay. Are there any prints where you've done I think you have here in some of these places.
Just a little bit, like in here, in these little areas.
Her work is interesting from the distance as you're seeing it, but it's also really interesting up close. Once you know that you're looking for certain things, it's a lot of fun to sit down and look real close at some of these. Now this lady, for example, her shirt, you've obviously, I can tell that you've printed something on that. I don't know what that is.
Slightly.
Yeah.
It's a slight print.
And then you've done, now how do you get this shine to your work?
Oh, I worked very hard in developing that.
How do you do that? What is this?
Well,
it's a secret.
It is actually a product I got at Cheap Joe's called self-leveling clear gel. But I had to practice and get the technique down, but that is how I finish my paintings, with a couple of coats of that, and it makes it very shiny, but it gives this thick coat as well on the surface of the painting, and it protects it from any light coming in through your window.
Right.
So your colors are not going to fade.
So it's got the UV. Really good. That's great, because that is a problem.
It's an issue. Yes.
So now you use anything besides acrylics?
Mostly acrylics. Sometimes I'll use some inks.
Okay.
Sometimes I will actually draw with an ink before I start the painting.
You used to do more of that than you do now, I think, or at least with some of the images I recall from previous
I used to
work.
do a lot of marbling with inks and do that. Not so much now. But I like drawing with ink because you're not tempted to erase.
No, you're not.
And you know, your patterns may actually be more of a freer, kind of fresh design.
Now, do you find yourself doing more, okay, forget it, scrap it, throw it away, I'm starting all over again?
Not too much. But that's nice to be able to do that.
Yes.
It's a good use of your canvas. If a painting doesn't turn out, I can just gesso over it and start again.
Yeah. So you don't waste the canvas, you just
That's right.
start over, yeah. Now, these pieces that are in front of me here are really clearly a collage. I mean, these obviously have pieces of stuff glued down, and
That's
then you've
right.
added things to it and painted and so on. Do you ever put anything three-dimensional in your collages?
I have not.
There's a
have
new
not.
direction you may want to think about.
Always a possibility. You never know.
You don't. You know, one thing I've been saying lately, folks have been hearing me say this frequently, is one of the things I like about artists is that they are very green. You were talking about using things that you find around your house.
That's right.
You know. You also told me earlier, we were talking, and you were saying something about using paint that you had left over from a previous project. You know.
That's right.
So artists oftentimes find ways to use stuff that other people would toss. You know, lots of folks will throw out the newspaper. Marion uses it to create interesting textures in her paints.
That's right. That's right.
So,
and whenever I have paint left over from a project I'm working on, I don't wash that paint away. I will actually use it to put on pieces of paper I have.
Right.
And then I'll have a collage element for another time.
So you just keep turning it around and reusing it. You also said that when you're looking at magazines and that kind of thing, you will go and cut out images?
Yes, like for instance, in some of these little collages, I might find some of these little elements,
Right.
and I put them together
In your own
a
way.
collage in my own way and come up with a design.
So these others, now these you took the photographs.
I took the photograph of this.
But in these, you may have found them in a magazine
Some
or
of
something
them,
like
and some
that.
are photographs that I take that I combine together. Like these, some of these are like little photographs. I took a paint of little flowers up close, and then just add them in.
Now, okay, these photographs, let's say you took some of these photographs. Did you go out to the garden and say, I'm going to take pictures that I'm going to put into a collage, and it's going to look like this?
No. No. You never know where it's going to lead you. So I'll take things that interest me, I'll take pictures of it and save it. And then somewhere down the line I might think, oh, this might work like this, and I'll give it a try.
Now, you sound, from talking to you, more organized than a lot of artists I know. And so we were talking about where you keep the collage things that you have collected and so forth.
Well, they would get lost if I didn't have some way of keeping them organized. And so I do have a filing cabinet with all kinds of different colored and patterned papers and things that I've painted on, and just save them in there, and photographs, keep them all in there. And then I have like a little storage box for little tiny pieces of things that I might cut out for magazines.
Now, do you organize them like these are flower pieces and these are...
No,
oh,
I don't go to that part.
I started to say.
I have heard of artists that do that, but no, I don't.
Now, this is well, it could be a set.
It could be a set, yes.
There are three pieces that very strongly resemble each other.
Right.
Now, did you plan it that way? Did it just accidentally? Did you do the first one and then say, I'm going to do more of this?
Actually, no, I started these as a set.
Okay.
Just so that they would look, they would harmonize well together. And just playing with shapes, I decided just to do the same kind of shapes through all three paintings. And I enjoyed doing it. It was fun. I like geometry as far as the shapes.
I can tell that, yes, very much.
Yes.
So yeah, I was just thinking exactly that. As this looks like something I would have done in my geometry classes as a project, and tried to call it a math project.
Yeah.
So, well, that is one cool thing. Now that brings up something that probably you don't do as much, but it brings up a point I want to make, and that is that the arts are used in the classroom in a variety of ways, and sometimes things like this are ways that students are learning about geometry, doing images like these, and then coming up and turning them into creative artwork, and that helps the student practice a skill or learn something, you know. So were you a good math student?
No.
You were. Full of
Math was not one of my favorite subjects.
So this is a late blooming thing.
Yeah, well, I think I late bloomed on a lot of things.
It sounded like it. You're just a different person from the one you started out at. Now this one is purely a painting, is that correct?
That is correct.
This is a nice one. This one is called, what is it, Girl in Red Dress. Makes good sense. Now, this image, was this someone that you knew?
No.
Do you ever do that?
Yes, I have done paintings of my oldest daughter, Heather. I've done paintings of my younger daughter, Kendall. And so at times I do actually do a more realistic thing, but it's been a few years since I did something that realistic.
So now if you're going to do a painting of them, they'll be more abstract.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see you're moving very much more abstract than you used to be in your styles. And then you also have taken the images that you've done and had some of them made into cards, gift cards.
Right. Some of the collages, I just printed some of the images and can that way make them into a little gift card.
So you can have a little Marion Cloaninger.
And those are also frameable.
Yes,
you
they
could take
are.
those and frame them.
And you've also done it with a little bit, I don't know where you had this done, but this is a very nice paper that they're on. It's not just a plain, basic paper.
Actually, it came from the paper of the image, or
the background.
the background. Yes, Cheap Joe's carries those.
They do, and so
Yes,
you're taking
those
your
are
images
wonderful.
and putting them on top. That's neat. So when you give a gift card like this, you're giving more than a gift card. You're giving a work of art.
Yes, you are.
Which is very, very special and neat. Now we got one more piece we've not talked about. This lady behind us, and the main thing about her is now her shirt. Did you say it's collaged?
It is collaged, and so is her flower that she has in her hand.
Now, how often would you say that you end up with collage in a painting?
Pretty often. Pretty often. Sometimes if they work out strictly to be acrylic, but it's hard for me not to glue something down
Interesting.
while I'm working on a painting. I think it just adds an extra element that you can't really get.
That's neat.
You know,
Yeah.
but I also do color on top, like with her top of her dress. It was a collage piece, but then I embellished it further with more color to make it pop.
How do you know when you're done?
Well, that is a good question. And that is difficult for any artist to know when they're done.
Especially an artist that does multiple techniques.
And I have to remind myself that I'm done before I think I'm done.
Yes.
Because I have messed up a few paintings by saying, I need to do just one more thing.
Yep.
And then it's like it loses that freshness.
And then you go, ah.
Yes. And my husband will say, I think I liked it better before.
You go, but you don't want to hear that.
No. What I really don't want to hear from him is he walks into my studio and says, it's not my favorite. That means I need to start over.
Now, so what does your husband think about this? Now, did you meet him after you started painting, or did he always know you was an artist?
He has always known me as an artist because I had actually started that before he came along.
Okay. So this is not like he's got to get used to this new you.
No.
Okay. So he bought into this deal knowing what he was getting.
Yes.
Paints and glue and lots of little bits of
Absolutely.
paper and all kinds of things, you know.
And he thinks it's great. He likes me to be able to do this.
Well, and we were talking about your profession, which is as a nurse, you know.
That's correct.
And how that this is a stress reliever for you.
Oh, it is very much a stress reliever. And I can go in the studio and really lose track of time. Because you are so involved that you don't think about anything. No worries, no stress.
Do you listen to music or anything when you're working?
Oh, yes. Rock and roll.
Really? No soft melodies.
Oh, no. Rock and roll, show tunes, jazz, blues.
Stuff that's got energy to it.
Energy. It's got to have energy.
That's what I'm hearing. Yeah, lots of energy. And it shows. You can see it in your work, you know. So if I play some soft music, am I going to get something completely different out of you?
Gosh, I don't even know if I could do that under soft music.
Now, you also mentioned to me when you and I were chatting before we started this that you have to paint.
I do have to paint. Yeah, it's just something, if I don't paint for a period of days, I just really get in a bad mood.
That's interesting.
Now, I've got to paint.
What did you do before you started painting to reduce stress or relieve stress?
Well, my children were young then. So a lot of my time was spent rearing children, which, you know, as anyone knows, anyone that's been a mother or a father even,
yes,
you don't have time for much else than children when you have them.
So this is a whole new refreshing era for you.
Yes, and it used to be that I would have to drag all my paints out on the kitchen table and do work, but now since all of my children have moved out of the home, I took one of the bedrooms and turned it into a studio, and it's just nice to be able to leave everything out.
Yes.
Go to it when I can.
And walk in and just pick it up and
That's
start
right.
working. Yeah.
That's right.
I'm sure it promotes more work that way.
Oh, it does. It does.
So this is great. Well, do you ever teach other people how to do what you do, or is it strictly a solo act?
Well, mostly a solo act. I have done a few things at Cheap Joe's. I've had a couple of different small classes there, and demo at the High Country Water Media Society. I'm also show my work at Carlton Gallery, and so I have done a few demonstrations on marbling there, and that sort of thing. But on the whole, it's mostly just me in my studio.
Now, you mentioned Carlton Gallery, and Tony Carlton's definitely a friend of the Arts Council, and you can get some of Marion's work there.
That's
and you can get it through our gallery and gift shop.
Yes.
And then anywhere else in town or anywhere?
Well, over at the Ash Arts Council, I participate in shows there, and they do have a few things in their little small gallery space.
So you can find Marion through either Ash Arts Council or Watauga County Arts Council, or go to Carlton Gallery, and you'll learn more about Marion's work there and see it in action. As you know, the Watauga County Arts Council's gift shop and gallery has a wonderful space where a combination of a gallery and a gift shop all in one big package, which is a whole lot of fun. And we have a lot of really creative things all around us all the time. And if you come in there, you'll get just as inspired as we are. But also you can check our Facebook page, and I'm going to soon be featuring some of Marion's work, and as I do the other artists from time to time. Stay in touch with us. Be in touch with our Arts Council's website, which is watauga-arts.org, and you can also stay in touch with us through Facebook. But the best way to stay in touch with us is to come check it out in person, because art's just not quite the same unless you get up close.
That's right.
So it really does matter. Come check it out. Our gallery is open from noon to 6 on Friday and Saturday, and 2 to 5 on Sunday. And then any other time during the week, whenever there's a staff member around, which usually is a lot of the time, you can find us there, and our doors are always open. If you are going and you're making a special trip and you want to make sure we're going to be there, call us first, 264-1789, and we'll be happy to let you know that we're going to be there and what time we'll be leaving and so forth, so that you'll have some idea of when you can hit it. But come in and experience it up close, and I encourage you to make it a gift to yourself and a gift to someone else too, because I don't know about you, but this would be a fabulous gift.
Yes.
You know, and I think that, and also remember too that there's only one of these. There will never be another one just like this.
Well, that's right. It would be impossible to paint another one just like that.
So if you give one of these or something like this, then you certainly will not be duplicated ever, and no one will ever forget where they got it either.
That's right.
So check out our website, watauga-arts.org, for this and so much more.
Watauga Arts Council with your host, Cherry Johnson, serving arts in Watauga County for more than 30 years.